Alright guys, welcome back to First Person Chef. Today we're going to be making strawberry pie in honor of Pi Day. That's Mathematical Pi Day because it's March the 14th. So I just measured out 12 and a half, approximately, I'm a little off now, 12 and a half ounces of all-purpose flour. And that's going to form our pie crust. So I got that measured out. And let me measure out a few more things real quick. Alright, so to a separate tiny bowl, because we're not going to use all this flour all at once, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. It's just regular old sugar here. And 1 teaspoon of salt. We're going to set this aside. Okay, so I've got my food processor here with just the regular blade in there. Now what we're going to do, we're going to add 2/3 of the flour to the food processor bowl. This is actually the first time I'm going to make pie pastry from scratch. So you might think, wow, that's crazy. Well, I've got a recipe from a website called Serious Eats, and I use a lot of their techniques, specifically the Food Lab techniques. I've used a lot of his recipes, and so I trust that this is going to work out the first time. It sounds really easy. So if I can do it the first time, then nobody needs to be scared of pastry, especially if you're following this recipe. And I'll try to remember to link, have a link in the description of this exact recipe that I'm using. I'm going to cut up 2.5 sticks of unsalted butter. Oh, lost my towel. All right, so got 2.5 sticks of butter ready to go. To the 2/3 of the total flour, so about 8 ounces of flour in here, we're going to add the 2 tablespoons of sugar and the 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to pulse this twice to incorporate. Now we're going to put all the butter in here, all 20, which is 2.5 sticks. So 25 short pulses. Where'd these come from? I accidentally didn't record the last part. Very sorry about that. Where we left off last, when I was making the dough, I added the remainder of the flour. So I added the 4 ounces into the food processor and incorporated that in a few short pulses. And then I put all of that mixture into a mixing bowl, and I used a rubber spatula to mix it all together until it formed one big ball. And then I split that ball into 2 parts and formed each ball into discs that you see here. I wrapped them in saran, and then I put them in the fridge, and they've been in there for 3 to 4 hours. You want to at least do 2 hours, and since these were in the fridge for so long, I'm gonna let them sit for a while. Okay everybody, so let this sit here for 5 to 10 minutes to warm up. Hopefully it's warm enough and the dough doesn't crack. If it does, whoops. So we want to get this rolled out. And the recipe that I have says to spin it around a lot as you roll it out, and then flip it over as well pretty often while you're working with it. And so it's rolled out nice and evenly. So I want to get this one shaped, I guess, into like a rectangular shape. So what we're going to end up doing, I'm going to let this chill in the fridge for 15 minutes on a sheet pan, but we're going to end up cutting these into strips. So I saw this trick. I'm going to have to do this for the bottom layer anyway, so I might as well practice. Try to get some of this excess flour. Looks like I added way too much flour. Probably don't need nearly that much on the table. Bring this over here. Alright, so let's get this top layer in the fridge. So we're going to want to roll this disc out so it's about 2 inches bigger on every side than my pie plate. Okay, so that's rolled up. There's my pie plate. So let's lift this up and try to center this pretty well. That wasn't very centered. That's okay. Yeah, would have been better if I had tried harder that first time, huh? So again, learn from my mistakes. Try to center it better the first time. All right, now we're gonna just lift it up and let it slide down into the bottom of into the sides of the plate. Okay, so at this point, once the pie dough is shaped to the pie plate, which it is now, we're going to let this chill in the fridge with our other pastry. All right, wow. So cleaned up this area so I can get my cutting board out. We'll need a large mixing bowl. We'll need a small knife. So I'm gonna use a little paring knife. We'll just gonna wash these up. All right, so I'll just show you a few and then I'll probably speed up the rest. I'm gonna trim the top off and quarter them. All right, so here's the last strawberry. I don't know if I said this, but this is 3 pounds of strawberries. The recipe called for 2.5, but what's the harm? All right, so to our cut up strawberries that I've got in this bowl, we're gonna add a mixture of sugar and cornstarch. Okay, so I've got my sugar and a scale. We're gonna measure out 4 ounces of sugar. Okay, very close now, and 4 ounces. Hope y'all can see the number. So now we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now, I've dirtied all my tablespoon measures, so we're gonna have to add 9 teaspoons because there are 3 teaspoons in 1 tablespoon. All right, so that was 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and we're gonna mix this all together. And I would advise you to not wear a black shirt and dark wash jeans while you're making pie, because I look like a ghost now. All right, so we got that mixed up. We lost some sugar overboard. I'm gonna add this to our trimmed and quartered strawberries. We're just going to toss these. All right, so that's all tossed together, and we're gonna let this sit for 5 minutes. And then we're gonna add it to the pie crust. All right, so our strawberries have sat for 5 minutes with the sugar and cornstarch. So I've got the bottom of the pie out of the fridge. I'm gonna put the strawberries in here. Okay, so now we need to work with the top of the pie. Now we've got our top layer, and we're gonna cut this into 1/2-inch strips.
Okay, so now we want to take a strip.
So we're gonna go around and cut most of this excess off with some scissors. And once we do that, we're gonna fold it. All right, so we're leaving about like a 1/2 inch around the edges because we're gonna fold that. Okay, sorry I'm not talking much again. I'm pretty focused on this because I'm not super familiar with it. Okay, now one last touch. Okay, so let's put this in the fridge for about 15 minutes. All right, so while the pie is still resting and chilling in the fridge for several more minutes, we'll go ahead and get the egg wash ready. Okay, and then we're gonna add a pinch of salt to the egg. Not sure what that's about, but that's what the recipe says. I'm gonna beat this together. All right, so that's ready to go. Then we're also gonna sprinkle some more sugar, or some sugar, on top of the egg wash after it's brushed on. Oh, and actually the oven should be preheated to 425. So our pie has chilled in the fridge for 15 minutes. I'm gonna take the egg wash we just made, get it on our brush, and we're gonna brush the top of the dough. Okay, so we got that all egg washed pretty well. I'm gonna take our sugar and just sprinkle a little bit over the pie. All right, let's get this into our 425-degree oven, and we're gonna let that bake for 20 minutes on 425. We're gonna turn it after 10. All right, guys, it's been 10 minutes, so we're going to spin our pie around, turn it around halfway so it'll cook evenly. It's not very pretty right now, but hopefully it will be later. All right, we'll put that in there for 10 more minutes, still on 425. All right, guys, it's been 10 more minutes for a total of 20 minutes, and we're gonna turn down the oven to 350. And let the pie bake for 20 to 30 more minutes. Let's go ahead and get a peek at it, since otherwise this part would be boring. Oh, it's looking pretty good. I don't know if you can even see it. Yeah, it's starting to look like a pie. All right, so we'll see it again in 20 to 30 more minutes, and then it should be done. All right, so it's been 30 minutes baking at 350. Let's check on the pie. Ooh, it's looking pretty good. I think it could probably go longer to get the lattice a little more golden brown. So we're gonna put it in for about 5 more minutes. So it's been 5 more minutes for a total of 35 minutes after I turned it down to 350. And I think I'm gonna say that this is done now. All right, so let's take it out very carefully and get it to a cooling rack. All right, and so this needs to cool completely before we serve it. Well, here it is, everybody. It's cooled down for a little over an hour, and so let's cut into it and see if it's good. We'll give it a shot. Well, that wasn't too bad. Okay. There's our piece of pie. We can't have some pie without some Cool Whip, so hold on one second. Okay. Woo. All right, guys, so strawberry pie for Mathematical Pie Day. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on First Person Chef.